Welcome back to our channel dedicated to bringing you the most thrilling and in-depth updates from the dramatic world of your favorite daytime soap opera. Today is a spectacular day to dive deep into the tangled webs, shocking secrets, and emotional roller coasters that keep us all glued to our screens. The intricate and fragile dynamic of marriage is often tested by the ghosts of the past, but for Andre and Danny, the haunting is becoming all too literal. Recently, the atmosphere in their household has been thick with an unspoken, suffocating tension. Danny has been entirely consumed by her lingering, unresolved feelings for her former husband, Bill. Despite her vows to Andre and her desperate attempts to move forward, Danny has found herself completely incapable of letting go of the man she once loved. This emotional tether was violently yanked when Bill recently suffered a catastrophic emotional and psychological breakdown. The sheer devastation of her ex-husband's collapse triggered a profound, almost instinctual reaction within Danny. It awakened a deeply rooted savior complex, an overwhelming urge to rush to his side and piece his shattered life back together. For Andre, witnessing his wife's visceral reaction to another man's pain is a waking nightmare. It is a reality he desperately wishes to ignore, a painful truth he absolutely does not want to think about, as it highlights the glaring cracks in the foundation of their own marriage. However, Andre is finding it increasingly difficult to dwell on his marital woes, primarily because a terrifying new distraction has aggressively inserted itself into his daily life. For the past several days, Andre's personal phone has been blowing up with an incessant barrage of cryptic, unnerving text messages. The notifications arrive at all hours during his morning coffee, in the middle of crucial conversations, and in the dead of the night. The sheer volume and frequency of these messages are staggering, designed specifically to shatter his focus and keep him in a state of perpetual anxiety. At first, the messages might have seemed like a bizarre misdial or a harmless prank, but the deeply personal nature of the texts quickly made it clear that someone was watching him. This relentless digital stalking has successfully derailed Andre's train of thought, forcing his attention away from Danny's obsession with Bill and redirecting it toward a looming, unseen threat that seems to know his every move. The psychological warfare escalated from the digital realm into the physical world in the most elegant, yet sinister manner possible. A mysterious package arrived at their home, beautifully wrapped and presented as a belated wedding gift specifically addressed to Danny. Inside the exquisite packaging lay an incredibly rare, astronomically expensive bottle of vintage champagne. To the untrained eye, and certainly to Danny, it appeared to be a lavish gesture of goodwill from a wealthy, anonymous well-wisher. But to Andre, the sight of that bottle sent a freezing chill straight down his spine. He recognized the implied message immediately. The champagne was not a celebration of their union, it was a mockery of it. It was a calculated, terrifying demonstration of access and power. The sender was proving that they could reach into Andre's sanctuary, bypass his defenses, and interact directly with his unsuspecting wife. The expensive bottle of champagne was a beautiful, glass-encased threat, a ticking time bomb sitting right on their kitchen counter. Driven to the edge of paranoia and desperate for answers, Andre realizes he can no longer hide behind the screen of his phone. He is expertly manipulated and lured into a mysterious, highly secretive rendezvous. The instructions are precise, demanding that he arrive alone at a secluded location far away from the prying eyes of his wife and the general public. As Andre navigates the dark, shadow-drenched streets to meet his anonymous tormentor, the atmosphere is thick with dread and anticipation. Every footstep echoes like a gavel striking a sounding board, condemning him to face a past he thought he had successfully buried forever. The tension is palpable as he steps into the designated meeting spot, his heart pounding against his ribs, entirely unsure of what kind of monster is waiting for him in the darkness. When the mysterious figure finally steps out of the shadows, the revelation is nothing short of earth-shattering. It is none other than Heather. The appearance of this formidable, deeply unpredictable force from his past is the absolute worst-case scenario for Andre. Heather is not merely a ghost, she is a hurricane of manipulation, secrets, and calculated cruelty. Her sudden materialization in his present life confirms his darkest fears. All the terrifying signs, the relentless text messages, the lavish champagne, the feeling of being hunted, it all pointed to this exact horrifying moment. Heather has been meticulously tracking him, studying his new life, evaluating his weaknesses, and patiently waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Now she stands before him, wearing a triumphant, chilling smile that promises nothing but absolute destruction. The confrontation between Andre and Heather instantly reveals the deeply toxic, highly secretive history they share. While the exact details of their past sins remain shrouded in mystery, it is abundantly clear that Heather holds a devastating amount of leverage over him. She knows where all the proverbial bodies are buried. She possesses knowledge of a truth so damaging, so utterly ruinous, that its exposure would instantly obliterate Andre's carefully constructed life. The threat of this dark secret being dragged into the light of day leaves Andre completely paralyzed. He is a man who has worked tirelessly to build a respectable, stable existence, and Heather is holding a lit match dangerously close to the foundation of everything he holds dear. She has not returned simply to reminisce, she has returned to collect a debt, and she intends to use every ounce of her leverage to force Andre into total submission. Heather's demands are as shocking as they are specific. She has zeroed in on Andre's current domestic crisis with laser precision. Her primary ultimatum centers entirely around Danny and her lingering connection to the emotionally shattered Bill. Heather makes it aggressively clear that she harbors a deep, venomous distaste for the current situation. She absolutely refuses to tolerate the sight of Danny hovering around Bill, playing the role of the devoted savior. For reasons that are deeply tied to her own twisted agenda, Heather wants Danny completely removed from Bill's orbit. She looks Andre dead in the eye and demands that he take immediate, decisive action to handle his wife. He must rein Danny in, sever her ties to her ex-husband, and force her to abandon Bill to his misery. The command is delivered not as a suggestion, but as an absolute, non-negotiable decree. The sheer audacity of Heather's demand leaves Andre reeling, but the threat that accompanies it leaves him with no room to breathe. Heather's ultimatum is crystal clear and dripping with malice. If Andre fails to quickly and effectively control his wife, if he allows Danny to continue her emotional entanglement with Bill, Heather will not hesitate to pull the trigger on his life. She promises to broadcast the horrifying truth of his past to everyone he cares about. The exposure would cost him his marriage, his reputation, and potentially his freedom. Heather is holding a metaphorical gun to his head, forcing him to choose between manipulating the woman he loves or facing total and utter annihilation. It is a sadistic, impossible choice designed to strip Andre of his autonomy and reduce him to a desperate puppet dancing on Heather's strings. Faced with this insurmountable pressure, Andre makes the tragic yet predictable decision to completely isolate himself. He resolves to keep this entire terrifying ordeal an absolute secret from Danny. He convinces himself that he is protecting her, that shielding her from Heather's madness and his own dark history is the noble thing to do. However, this decision only serves to build a massive, impenetrable wall of deceit between the husband and wife. Andre is forced to lie about his whereabouts, his sudden shifts in mood, and the true reason he is suddenly so aggressively demanding that Danny stay away from Bill. The irony is suffocating. In his desperate attempt to save his marriage from Heather's destructive interference, Andre is actively poisoning the well with his own lies. The foundation of trust is rapidly crumbling beneath their feet, replaced by a toxic cocktail of paranoia and unspoken fears. However, the tragedy of their marriage is not entirely one-sided. While Andre is drowning in the quicksand of Heather's blackmail, Danny is quietly harboring massive, explosive secrets of her own. She is not merely a passive victim in this marital chess game. Her refusal to let go of Bill is not just born out of a simple savior complex. There are deeper, hidden layers to her ongoing connection with her ex-husband that she is desperately keeping from Andre. Danny is operating her own covert agenda, sneaking around and manipulating the truth to maintain her proximity to Bill. The household has become a battlefield of mutual deception where both husband and wife are smiling through their teeth while desperately hiding their respective catastrophic truths. This dual secrecy ensures that when the inevitable explosion finally occurs, the collateral damage will be absolute. As if forcing a wedge between a husband and wife were not enough, Heather quickly reveals that her sinister plans for Andre extend far beyond domestic manipulation. She has a secondary, highly dangerous mission for him, one that plunges him straight into the treacherous waters of organized crime and illicit business. Heather desperately needs Andre's unique, unsuspecting profile to help her navigate a deeply complicated situation involving Joey and Vanessa. It becomes horrifyingly apparent that Heather is deeply entangled in a shadowy underworld, and she requires an outsider, someone clean, someone desperate to do her dirty work. She officially ropes Andre into a dangerous investigation, demanding that he look into the highly suspicious, potentially illegal activities of her own brother. The target of this forced investigation is a network of high-stakes underground casinos. Heather suspects her brother is running a massive illicit operation, potentially skimming money, laundering funds, or crossing lines that even she finds dangerous. Because her brother would instantly recognize any of her usual operatives, Heather needs Andre to act as her personal, unwilling spy. She demands that he infiltrate this dangerous world, gather concrete evidence of the casino operations, and report back to her. The inclusion of Joey and Vanessa in this web of deceit adds a volatile, unpredictable element to the mix. Andre is entirely out of his depth. He is a man accustomed to a relatively normal life, not a seasoned private investigator or a mob enforcer. Stepping into a world of illegal casinos, ruthless operators, and millions of dollars in untraceable cash is a suicidal endeavor. The psychological burden placed on Andre's shoulders is now astronomically heavy. He is essentially fighting a two-front war for his own survival. On one side, he must emotionally manipulate his wife, desperately trying to drag Danny away from the fragile, broken Bill without revealing the terrifying reason why. On the other side, he must risk his actual physical safety by plunging into the dark, violent underbelly of the city to investigate Joey, Vanessa, and a dangerous casino empire on behalf of a mad woman. Every single step he takes is fraught with the potential for disaster. If he pushes Danny too hard, she will leave him. If he makes a mistake at the casinos, he could be killed. And if he fails to satisfy Heather on either front, his darkest, most closely guarded secret will be unleashed upon the world, destroying everything he has left. As the days turn into weeks, the sheer exhaustion of maintaining these multiple, conflicting lies begins to physically manifest in Andre. He is barely sleeping, constantly looking over his shoulder, and jumping at every single vibration of his phone. The expensive bottle of champagne still sits in his home, a constant, mocking reminder of the invisible leash locked tightly around his neck. Meanwhile, Danny continues her secret emotional dance with Bill, completely oblivious to the fact that her actions are directly threatening her husband's life. The tension is building to an absolute fever pitch. The collision course between Andre's desperate cover-up Danny's hidden agenda, Bill's emotional instability, Heather's sadistic blackmail, and the dangerous casino operations involving Joey and Vanessa is entirely unavoidable. The stage is beautifully, tragically set for an explosion of epic proportions. The intricate web of lies, blackmail, and hidden agendas has grown too complex, too heavy to sustain itself for much longer. When the truth finally claws its way to the surface, and in this dramatic world, it always does, the fallout will be nothing short of legendary. Will Andre find a way to outsmart the brilliant, diabolical Heather before she destroys his life? Will Danny's own secrets regarding Bill be the ultimate catalyst for the destruction of her marriage? And what terrible dangers await Andre as he steps into the neon-lit, blood-soaked world of underground casinos? The stakes have never been higher, the secrets have never been darker, and the upcoming episodes promise to deliver a masterful, heart-stopping narrative that will leave viewers completely breathless. Stay tuned, because the real nightmare for Andre has only just begun.